Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon. You know the drill. I'm a retired New York City police detective and a 9/11 World Trade Center first responder. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, consider hitting the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so you'll get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace when we go live or upload another video. Hey, today I wanted to come live to tell you a couple of things. Number one, I'm still alive. Number two, Joey Brooklyn survived the mosquito attack out at Gilgo Beach, but we're going to cover the visit out to Gilgo Beach. It was a failed attempt, but we did what we had to do. We got out there, we did it for you guys, and I want to give you my perspective from a police detective's point of view. And we had a bird's eye view of that location, albeit it is many years later. But I think what we have to tell you today, what I'm going to tell you today, is going to give you a better insight to more of a definitive method of operation of how these poor victims, these four, Gilgo 4, and the remaining victims as well, the other 7, how they were how they were placed on Ocean Parkway. But I want to say a special thank you to the moderators, the Patreon supporters, the channel members, the replay viewers, the folks who leave super chat and super thanks while watching the replays. You guys are aces. Thank you so much to each and every one of you guys. And to everyone who's reached out to me after yesterday's debacle, guess what? I don't have really any welts or anything on my legs. I must have a good immune system to mosquito bites because I wasn't scratching at all. I didn't have to take Benadryl like Ed Wallace told us to do. There was no calamine lotion busted out. Joey Brooklyn, too. I checked in with him. He seems to be pretty good. So let me say hello to everybody in the chat and give thanks and praise to all of the live chatters. So Sean B is here, Aunt BB2, Sharon, Sharon Creates, Curious Kiwi, Kita Order. It's good to see you, my good friend from New Zealand, Agati. Thank you for joining. Sweet Caroline, you know I love that screen name. Princess Mitch, great to see you. Lorna McKenzie from the UK, Lexi, Jolene is here. Excellent, Jolene. Varum says those bugs were hungry. Man, let me tell you, and I got to apologize for the curse words, but it was DEFCON 4. I was like, what? We walked like a good 3, maybe, I don't know, 3 miles, maybe more. Before we went live, we did a long walk because we wanted to get you guys out to Thatch Island between Hemlock Cove and the Coast Guard Cove. So Joey Brooklyn and I parked over at Gilgo in the parking lot. I kind of did my little thing and got us in there because if you're not a resident and you don't have a permit, they charge you like a ridiculous amount of money to park there. I explained to the parking attendant, hey, I'm going to be filming for, for my YouTube channel. And he was just like, I showed him my credentials. He was just like, yeah, sure, park right over there. And then, if you're only going to be here an hour or two, that's fine. So he let me park. He let Joey park. It was great. And we took quite a bit of walk before we went live because I wanted to get to you. I wanted you guys to see close, very close to the areas where our Gilgo 4. That's Melissa Bartholomew, Amber Costello, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, and Megan Waterman. We weren't going to walk back in the other direction towards the west. We were walking towards the east on Ocean Parkway. And by a show of hands, who here in this chat either watched it live or watched a replay? So if you watched it live, press a 1. If you watched the replay, press a 2, and let me know if you guys saw that video. It turned out to be comical at the end, and I didn't mean it to be comical, but I legitimately was being eaten alive on the back of my neck, on my arms, and on my legs. As you guys saw, my milky white legs. So a lot of number 1s, some number 2s. John Dunham said he hasn't seen it yet. TYO Toys, we survived. We definitely survived. Sister Carol Clark, she saw it live. And the rain is what saved us. Yes, Josh, the rain definitely saved us. I want to play a little piece from, I'm going to play a piece from our video yesterday, but I want you guys to get a good look at what this terrain looked like in the early days, because I think it's important that everyone who's following this closely, no matter who brings it to you, whether it's me, Joey Brooklyn, the news, if we're bringing to you the terrain current day right now, it is not what it was like when the remains were covered in 2010. And we don't know, arguably, exactly when those remains were placed there. But we have an idea, because from the time these girls went missing or disappeared to the time that they were recovered is how they narrow it down. But unfortunately, these remains that were recovered were all skeletal remains, right? So it was not a full body. I'm just trying to cover all the grounds here with you guys. These remains were skeletalized. They were, there was no skin remaining, or if any, very little. And you have to understand that the terrain that we showed you yesterday is not going to be like what the terrain was then. So, yes, Marzi won. The bug bites are fine. I didn't even itch my leg once, not even any itches. It was a miraculous that me and Joey Brooklyn were able to not get. I mean, I called him this morning and I was like, Joe, how you doing? How are you feeling? And he was like, yeah, I really don't have many welts on me. I said, I guess that's all good Italian blood, right? So Joey Brooklyn and I, we got off easy. And that's the interesting part of this whole situation, is that Joey Brooklyn and I, God was with us. I don't know if Sister Camille D'Arienzo was watching us, maybe some of our audience. We had the blessing. But let's listen to this. This is a happy Sunday to you too, as Florida Pete says, happy Sunday to everybody. As Pete says it, he says happy Sunday. Sunday. He doesn't say Sunday. He says happy Sunday. I love Uncle Pete. All right, so let's take a listen to this. This is from early on, folks.
We found a body at Gilgo Beach.
December 2010, human remains are discovered along Ocean Parkway, the first of what would become 10 victims.
We have no idea whatsoever that we're dealing with a serial killer. Right now, we have more questions than answers.
The remains of 8 women, 1 man, and a child, the Gilgo Beach homicide victims. Their discovery began with the search for Shannon Gilbert in May of 2010, a young woman from New Jersey who authorities say was a sex worker. It was her 911 call that set off a search in Oak Beach.
There's somebody after me.
Where are you, ma'am?
I don't know.
For months, the search continued until December, when a Suffolk police officer and cadaver dog conducting a routine search uncovered a set of remains. 3 more bodies were found the next day, north of Ocean Parkway, concealed by camo burlap.
All right, so I want you guys to get a good understanding that this, although it's an overview and there's snow because it was in December, this is what it looked like. And these are the locations of the 4 bodies. As you could see, very close to each other, very close proximity. Rex Heuermann, is alleged to have, is now charged with 3 out of the 4, and he will probably in the near future be charged with the 4th. And that is, again, something that the district attorney and the investigators are working hard to bring those charges. But this is a great shot, because to the right of your screen, where my cursor is the ocean side, right here where the Newsday TV sign is. This is the beach. Okay, I showed Joey yesterday the walkway where you get to this from the bay side. So you park on this side, and then you go underneath, and it takes you onto the beach. And there's a section where you could drive 4-wheelers onto the beach here. So a lot of people got confused about remains being found on the ocean side. I know not Princess Mitch, Richella and Pete Pranzo. Richella Pranzo was confused because of the reporting. They had to search early on in 2010. They had to search the beach side and the bay side. Every inch, every bit. Once they found numerous sets of remains scattered, they had to scour all of Ocean Parkway. And what kind of on-taking was that? For the NYPD, they lent a helping hand with their helicopters. for the Suffolk County ESU, Nassau County Emergency Services Unit, and all of the investigators who had to comb through the thicket that we showed you yesterday. Now, granted, in December, that's not the way it is in August, but this search took more than 6 months. It took probably a good year to cover all that ground. So I'll let the rest of this play, and then I'll bring Joey Brooklyn on because he's waiting. He's waiting to come on and hang out with us. Hold on a second.
The third body, and then ultimately the fourth body.
Over the years, more victims have been discovered. Sets of human remains along Ocean Parkway and other partial remains in places like Manorville, Jones Beach, and the body of a young child found near the remains of a man dressed in women's clothing near Cedar Beach in April of 2011.
Forensic anthropologists estimate that the full scale
Near Cedar Beach, found near the remains of a man.
Okay, I'm going to stop this right here because I for those of you who watched our video yesterday, these four, the Gilgo 4 remains were right here. This is Thatch Island, where my mouse is. Right, we walked right out to here. Joey will recall this. I said, Joey, we got to see Thatch Island. We got to look for Coast Guard Cove, which this right here is Coast Guard Cove. And back over here is Hemlock Cove. So Coast Guard Cove, Thatch Island, Hemlock Cove is huge. So our Gilgo 4 were all found just east of Coast Guard Cove. So if you look at Google Earth or look at any of your images and maps, this is Thatch Island up here in the top left. And if you go straight down, right down to the bay side of Ocean Parkway, you see 1, 2, 3, 4. They were all right here. And that's where we walked out to yesterday. And then we were attacked by the mosquitoes. So I wanted to stop that so you guys can get an idea where we were.
Dressed in women's clothing near Cedar Beach in April of 2011.
Forensic anthropologists estimate that the full skeletal remains appear to be that of a toddler.
The Gilgo Beach homicide victims slowly identified as police searched for clues as to how they died. Many of the victims were identified as sex workers.
Our investigation indicates that each of the victims had been posting ads on computer websites for various escort and other services prior to their disappearance and death.
In 2020, police reached out to the public, revealing a piece of evidence in the case, a black leather belt.
And this is former Suffolk County Police Commissioner Geraldine Hart. Before she became police commissioner, she was the head in charge. She was the lead executive in the FBI's Suffolk County office. So she had reinvigorated the investigation and brought the FBI back in 2020. And that is what I feel, in my opinion, is what sparked this case and got this case started back up, because up until this point, nobody was doing really much. And I think, this press conference, January 16th of 2020, this is when it really started getting going. And fast forward to 2023, we got Rex Heuermann in custody.
Reading either WH or HM, hoping that, along with an increased reward for information, might finally give them a solid lead. In 2022, Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison created a task force between the agencies in hopes of finally solving the case.
I truly believe that we're going to get down to the bottom of who committed these crimes.
And now an arrest.
And that was in 2022, because as we know, he took office in January 2022. And he started the task force February 2022. Rex Heuermann was identified March 14th of 2022. And as we know, collared in July of 2023. So great job. And I think that the job of investigating and the spark of this case was former police commissioner and former FBI executive Geraldine Hart, and it kept going from there.
Rex Heuermann of Massapequa Park, and a trial that's solving the case.
I truly believe that we're going to get down to the bottom of who committed these crimes.
And now an arrest. Rex Heuermann of Massapequa Park, and a trial that may lead to more answers in a case that has gripped Long Island for more than a decade.
That's for sure. So I wanted to show you that piece to just give you guys a good overview of where we are from 2010 to current day. Joining me as soon as he gives me the thumbs up, I'm gonna put him in. Joey Brooklyn. He was my cameraman, my YouTube. The reason I'm on YouTube and a great friend. Joey Brooklyn, thank you for joining, brother. How are you?
Great to see you, Brother Ron.
Yes.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Yeah. So Joey, everybody watched our video. I think we have quite a few eyes on it, and it turned out to be at the end a comedy show because Ed Wallace joined us, and Ed Wallace is outside the country, but we didn't have earpieces in because we weren't expecting guests, and Joey was working the camera. But unbeknownst to me, I did have wireless earbuds, and we could have deployed those, and we would have been able to hear Ed. But I didn't know it, and I knew that we were getting eaten alive by Mothra, the killer mosquitoes. Yeah, I mean, it's a miracle that we're not eaten alive, and we're not scratched up and all kinds of red marks all over us. My legs doesn't even seem like I got hit. I didn't even get.
That's good.
So,
but you know what go ahead.
Go ahead. What? You know what?
What I noticed was, Ron, that last night I just started scratching, and before you know it, I did get hit quite a bit from the mosquitoes. Yeah, I did. Yeah, on my hand, on my arms, and back of my neck.
Yeah, yeah.
Not my legs though, because I was wearing pants. Unfortunately, you got bombed. You killed most of them.
Oh yeah, we did get it. We did get it. And I was actually swatting the flies on my leg, the mosquitoes, and their blood was all over my leg. And Joey was like, "Oh my God, DutyRon's bleeding out." So yeah, but I think prior to us getting attacked by mosquitoes, I think we did a good job of showing and explaining. Whose dog is that, Joey? Is that your neighbor's dog?
Oh, the next door neighbor.
We need to give him a biscuit, and it's got him down. But no big deal.
Right.
So yesterday was a great. And I'm just going to keep you muted for a second while I'm talking. Yesterday was we did some great planning. We had I had my notes here, which gave us the whole overview of what we wanted to cover, and what I planned to do, and we successfully did it. We got out to that location where I just discussed, Thatch Island, and we sat and we went live right from that location. And what we were going to do is continue on to mark each of the spots, but because of the mosquitoes and the rain, actually, even if the mosquitoes would have continued, we wouldn't have had the time to get to each individual spot and have a conversation. But the rain, the rain came out of nowhere, and that was almost like a godly act, because with that rain came, it saved us from being eaten alive.
Listen, the intention was there. You're a true professional, Ron. You did your homework. You clued me in on to everything that we were supposed to do. As your cameraman, I was telling you about different angles to do and all that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, from a serious situation that we were going to explain to the public, we just got eaten up alive. A monsoon came, took us out. I mean, it was hilarious in that sense. Yeah. But we will do it again. We'll go back when the mosquitoes are not there anymore.
Yeah. So yeah, we had some really rough weather even last night. There was some thunder and lightning at 3 o'clock in the morning. But this is Joey and I from yesterday. So I'm playing this because for those of you who weren't there with us live and watched the replay, look, Janelle Woodward is saying, you both did a good job regardless. And just for the listening audience and some of the people that might not have understood, we had no way of communicating with Ed. We couldn't hear him. I said it. I stated it. Ed's here, but we're not going to hear what he has to say. He's going to be able to hear us. So we wound up stepping all over Ed while he was talking. People were getting frustrated. Hey, let Ed talk. But Joey and I didn't know, and we were just continuing trying to stay alive. That was it. But so the signal was a little wonky in the beginning, but once we walked past this part, and this is coming beyond Thatch Island. So Thatch Island and Coast Guard Cove are like right there. And this was if everything aligned correctly, we would have given you. But this thicket, and this is what I wanted to talk with you about, Joe.
Go ahead.
Is, the media ran about 2 weeks ago, give or take some time, with a theory that Rex Heuermann took his duck boat or a boat out from his home, which is Massapequa Park, Long Island, and Nassau, rode into this bay and rode across. It was just I think it was a News Nation reporter, and then several other outlets ran with it. By a show of hands in the chat, if you saw that report, when I think it was News Nation and then maybe ABC and all the regular affiliates took it, but they were talking that he could see potentially his victims or the dumping grounds from binoculars from the shore, and it was his way of keeping an eye on the remains. I think we showed and proved wholeheartedly, almost definitively, that theory is literally impossible, Joe. And I want to bring us back on, because you got a good view. I'm going to give my perspective. This scenario, this situation where Rex Heuermann, even with aided by another, and we don't know, it's said that he did this by himself, that there was no co-conspirators with him. It would be so difficult. And you talked about the mucky marsh, and I'm going to show an overview of the marsh from 2010. I mean, it would be like quicksand as you described it, Joe. Do you want to expand a little bit on that?
Sure, absolutely. So that was DutyRon and myself, and we're not conspiracy theorists. We listen to all the facts, and we also listen to the proof, and which are the facts. In other words, how would this have happened, right? So everybody's going to go out there with different opinions on how this could have occurred. But being that I'm so happy that you invited me to be the cameraman to come out and see with my own eyes. Exactly right there. We were exactly right there.
You never saw the location before, right, Joe?
No, I've never been there. I've never saw the location at all. So I got a bird's eye view, looking at all this. And I would tell you this. Just suppose he did take a boat, right? Mm-hmm. So according to he's 6'5" or 6'6", approximately 280 pounds, 290 pounds, approximately. We really don't know for sure. So now the victim weighs 100 pounds, let's say. Okay? Unfortunately, it's very sad. He puts them on the boat by himself. He drives the boat. He gets to that point in Gilgo Beach. Based on my observation and what I've seen, there is no way in hell that man, I don't care if he's Hercules, how strong he is, he's gonna, excuse me for saying this, and this is a trigger warning here. He dragged a body across 100 yards of brush and marshland, because once the boat goes there, it's all marsh. And with marshland, what happens with low tide, you sink. It's mud. You just sink. So the heavier you are, the faster you're going to sink. It's like quicksand, as I explained in the previous broadcast that we did. So in my opinion, based on my observation and what I saw, and Ron, you could attest to this, you saw exactly, there is no possibility that this could have happened. My opinion, and my opinion alone, and you could agree or disagree, this guy drove these bodies in the middle of the night and dragged them into the bush. That's the only way.
It's the most convenient and fast way. And the thing of it is that people have to realize, and I want to put this back on the screen while we're talking. Everybody can still hear us, Joe, audio-wise. If you look at this, this is from my video yesterday with Joey. Joey's working the camera. If you look, this asphalt pavement is a bike / walking trail, and we come to find out yesterday it's primarily a bike trail, because when we were walking on there was people like telling us, watch what you're doing,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Joey, right? That lady yelled at you. She's like, well, you pay attention, Sonny.
Yeah, I have to have eyes behind my head to see
You
that.
pay attention, for crying out loud, Sonny. Anyways, so what I'm saying is this area here was not in existence in 2010 and earlier. So this asphalt paved bike path and the actual guardrail. Remember, Joe, you were telling me go to the right, get away from the brush. The mosquitoes would be less
Yes.
over here. This was all a shoulder for him or anybody to pull off to the side. And because it's so desolate, there is no lights there. There is absolutely no traffic lights. I did it myself recently where I drove and I shut my lights off. It's creepy. It's eerie. But if you do this quickly, wrapped up 4 feet 11 or smaller, these victims were, he could just pull his the avalanche or any vehicle right up onto the road, onto the pullover spot, over onto the it's not pavement,
On the side.
yeah, pull over to the side of the road, open up the back, drag him out, go in there, and I'm sure that he had, like coveralls, or he probably put thick boots or heavy, high boots on, because that, even in the wintertime, and I'm going to show my video from the wintertime, it's still pretty, those thorns are sharp. You can really get, but this bike trail that's existing here was definitely, obviously not there at that time.
Ron, may I ask a question?
Yeah, Joe, go ahead.
When did they start, Suffolk County? When did they put that bike path there? Do you know?
I wanted to look into that, but if anybody knows in the chat, let us know, because I think obviously it was sometime between 2000 and current, but
Okay.
it looks pretty new. And I know I was there in 2020 for the 10-year mark, and it was there. So
Okay.
it was there in 2020. So sometime between 2010 and 2020, I don't know if it was 2006, 2007. I'm sure it's available. We'll Google it. We'll search it. It was definitely there. I want to play a little bit more of our blood, sweat, and tears video that we did yesterday. I'm doing it without sound so we can narrate.
Okay.
Go ahead. What did you want to say?
So a great point, Ron, is that unfortunately, when he, I hate to say it like this, disposed these people, these victims, there was no bike path there.
Yeah, no.
He had to drag them literally another, I'd say that was about, 25 feet, Ron, across?
Approximate? In the reports, it says they were 20 to 25 feet into that thick.
Oh, so then we're talking about 50 feet now. We're talking.
Well, if he pulls off, we can't really count, because he could have gotten the truck right up to the thick
right
part. He could have, I'll show you. He could have gotten the truck right up to here, right?
Yep.
And then went in 20 feet. And so I want everybody to understand, nobody stops along this road and goes in there. Maybe people stop and to take a piss or whatever. If somebody's in the, has a bad bladder and has to get out, a guy will stop and take a leak. If that.
It's desolate.
It's that
land.
There's no reason to stop. So
it's completely desolate.
Mind, he was like, this is my perfect dumping ground. And I hate to say that. I hate to even speak like that. But Rex Heuermann found a spot where he felt comfortable to dispose of his victims, and he frequented it. Just like in the New York City Police Department, when we would have a murder scene and we'd have 50 to 100 people gather, we would take pictures of the crowd, because the perps always like to come back to their spot, to where they did their crime. It's no different in this, because he just kept saying, this is working. This works for me. This is easy. I could just put him there and nobody will notice. Nobody will ever find him. And when Superstorm Sandy came, the bay, let me put this back on, the bay met the ocean. This water this whole thing was underwater. Ocean Parkway was obliterated.
Do you have any aerial footage of Sandy Ocean Parkway?
I tried to look, but I'm going to try to, as we're talking, I'm trying to pull that up.
Okay.
But Joey, what I got, my takeaway from during the day there is that it is very rough terrain to search, and it made me think about the investigators who had to comb every ounce and every inch of that location, and how difficult that was for them to do that. Yeah, they had PPE on. Yes, they had Tyvek suit, and all kinds of protection, but you're still in it. And I mean, they were using heavy machinery like combines to clear stuff, but they couldn't clear it just randomly. They had to make sure there was nothing there, because if they went through it to clear, they could move remains.
Thank you, Magical Mary, about first phase built in 2013. Okay.
So that's the walkway. First phase started 2013, but we saw that thing goes so long. That goes to almost the whole length of Ocean Parkway. I mean,
it's 6 miles or something.
It's ridiculous. It's a lot. It's a lot. Thank you for that super chat, Magical Mary. So I'm going to give you guys a look at the of the map. Okay, and this is from Suffolk County Police Department. So this gives you a pretty good. Let me see if I can get it. Hold on a second, Joe. I got to try to figure this one out. I want to make this bigger. Okay, that's it. All right. Stand by a second.
Okay.
All right, this is what we got. So Joey and I we walked out right. This is Thatch Island, right? I don't know why that keeps switching. So this is Thatch Island, and this is the patch where we were. Joey, we were kind of like right around here. So we may have made it right to where Amber Lynn Costello was recovered, because we didn't make it up to Hemlock Cove. I was bitten by the bug somewhere around here. It started going crazy right around here.
I think we were in between with Amber Lynn Costello.
And
excuse me,
the three, yeah. So Melissa Bartholomew, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, and Megan Waterman. We didn't make. I wanted to make it to the end right here, because this is Hemlock. So we started the video right around here, right where my cursor is, and so we made it to somewhere around here, and then we had to abort the mission. A, because it started raining, but B, primarily we were being eaten alive.
It was the 18th minute when that happened, Ron.
Yeah. Yes. I can't forget it, because I was panicking, like, hey, how are we going to get out of here? We have to walk so far. It was crazy. It was insane, actually. So hold on, let me get this thing back. I minimized my screen on the other side. There we go. Okay. So I want to go to the chat, because I want people in the chat to give their questions. Yeah, Schmitty's laughing, the 18th minute. All right, so we all got comedy out of that, and you know what? It wasn't meant to be a funny video or to make people laugh, but it turned into that. And you know, sometimes when you're doing these horrific cases, a little bit of moments of funniness, some people might find it. And I think I got 2 or 3 derogatory comments that were like, you know, how dare you guys? You know, you're talking about you know, the Gilgo 4 and the additional victims. So I only got 2 or 3, you know, nasty comments, but it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. So thank you, Schmitty, for reminding us that the 18th minute. Little Patty says, I'm surprised you two have any blood left.
No more blood.
It was a bloodbath, that's for sure. So it is what it is. Jagaloon says DutyRon. Yeah. So Joey, I people are noticing that your granddaughter is behind you running around. So Joey,
that's okay. Go ahead.
It's Brianna. So I have a couple of other things that I wanted to show the audience. Joe, I'll go full screen with me if you want me to, or you.
No, go ahead. It's okay. It's fine.
I have a whole bunch of stuff that I want to play, but this is Gilgo 5 years later. And when we show this this 5-year mark, they inside this piece of media, is some older footage, and I want people to see that older footage. So let's let this rip. This is from 2015.
A doctor's child. If it was a doctor's child, a cop's child, a nurse, I'm almost.
Hey, I just want to let you know, this is Shannon Gilbert's mom talking. She said if it was a cop's child or a doctor's child, this case would get more traction. And that's sad. I just wanted to play that back or just tell you guys that that's what she said, because it was hard for me to instantly hear what she said. I had to listen to it twice. So for those of you who might have missed it, she said if it was a cop's child or a doctor's child, there would be more attention. And I believe that now looking back at all the case folder, not the case folder, but the case history, that this was put on the back burner. And that's sad. And shame on Suffolk County at that time and the police department and whoever was investigating it, if in fact it comes to light that that's 100% true. But all of the indicators are pointing towards it. And I watched many videos and many investigative reports that talk about the former chief, James Burke, and how he was involved with hiring these girls and having sex with them and degrading them, throwing money at them and calling them bad whores. Excuse my language. That he shouldn't have been in law enforcement, and I'm glad he went to jail. But let's listen to this. This is Shannon Gilbert's mom talking.
If it was a doctor's child, a cop's child, a nurse, I'm almost guaranteed this case would have been already solved. But because of their profession, they think that they're dirty girls, and they're not. They're still human beings.
And that wasn't who I thought it was. That wasn't Shannon Gilbert's mom. I believe that was Megan Waterman's mom. I'm not 100% sure.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. And you look at her and you say, how and why? How does that happen? 5 years later.
And they need to realize they need to put the girl's profession behind them and think of it as their own child.
She's on the phone.
I received a phone call on June 6th of 2010 from my daughter's pimp to inform me and my mom that my daughter Megan was missing. The first thing I did was put on Facebook that I'm not ready to bury my daughter, because I knew.
You knew that.
I knew that the outcome wasn't going to be good.
And what made you feel that way? What made you think that?
It's a mother's instinct. Mothers just know.
As we approach the anniversary, on behalf of the Suffolk County Police Department, I want to convey to the loved ones and the family of all the victims that we are dedicated to do everything we can to solve this case. I've invited the FBI to work in close collaboration with the Suffolk County Police Department in investigating these murders.
I want to just say this police commissioner, Sini, he's a good guy, and he spoke out against the corruption that existed. Former police chief James Burke, this guy at the podium right here, he went on News 12, Long Island, and actually said there was a detective that put in the case folder that his material, his evidence was being suppressed, and he was being told that if he shared his case file with the FBI, that he would be demoted, taken off the case. And
Wow.
he went public with it. Recently, I played his video, but this is from 2015.
And I want to thank the FBI for agreeing to do that.
Gilgo was like any other beach in Long Island. It's a long strip. It's very, very busy in the summertime, very desolated in the wintertime. Over the span of a year, 10 human remains were found along that stretch.
We've conducted an extensive search with our canine units.
At about 3:30, officers discovered.
We've conducted an extensive search.
So this is a look at 2010. And Joey, this is the roadway on
Right.
the bay side where we were, approximately, not exactly. But there's these cops right here are standing in the middle of Ocean Parkway. It was shut down, obviously. And they had the canine, and you see the bay right here in the right in the front. That's how easy it was. There was a very small shoulder for Rex Heuermann to pull over in. Where this dog is the shoulder.
Right.
These cops are standing in the roadway. So that's what this terrain looked like in December of 2010. It's the snow on the ground. So interesting, right?
Yep. So it's a big difference that before that bike path was there, that it is from then to now. It's a completely different thing.
You can't even get an idea. The only way you can get an idea, guys, and thank you, Vroom, for stating very rough terrain. The only way you can get a good idea is if you go to the ocean side and you look at the ocean side, because over on the ocean side, it's a very small shoulder as well. But it was bigger on the ocean side because four-wheelers were allowed to enter Gilgo Beach, and four-wheel with the permit, and you get checked and everything. Joey, we saw them all parked on the side. Remember, they were getting checked to go in. You made the comment about it.
Yes.
Said, oh, yeah, they're all getting checked. And I said, yeah, they check them for alcohol and to make sure everything is all right. Their permits are right. But this side, that's how easy it is. You pull over in the middle of the night. There's no lights. Nobody could see. You shut your lights out on your car. You pull out the set of remains, drag it in. You could probably, do it all within 30 seconds, 60 seconds max, if you do it right. And that's how quickly it could have happened in the wintertime.
And unfortunately, that's why he chose very petite women.
Yes.
As a victim. So he could handle them.
I think, yeah, that might have been one of it, but that was probably a part of his psychotic fantasy, like he wanted to be overpowering and tower over them. The guy's 6'6", 6'7". He wanted to have command and control completely over these victims. All right, let me let the rest of this play because this, again, this is 5 years out from 2010, so this is 2015.
Our canine units.
At about 3:30, officers discovered what appeared to be another human remain.
There are no suspects at this time.
It's a large-scale operation. Obviously, it's over 4 miles from here down to the tower.
Collectively, we want to bring to justice this animal.
5 years have passed, and we still don't have answers. It was a search for Shannon Gilbert that led police to discover these remains. We do know she was an escort, and
Shannon Gilbert is, may she continue to rest in peace, is the hero here. Because if it wasn't for her calling 911 that night, we would not be here. They may have never found these additional remains.
Yep.
Superstorm Sandy would have washed them away. So Shannon Gilbert gets the credit for having these sets of remains, all these remains, 11. I mean, unbelievable.
Sadly, she is the hero.
She is. Let me just put it back because they show again some more of the old footage from the Parkway.
Gilbert that led police to discover these remains.
So this looks like the ocean side, and I was telling you how the ocean side has more of more of a shoulder. This appears to be the ocean side, but we'll let it go a little bit.
We do know she was an
Oh no, that is the Bayside.
Bayside.
She was responding to an ad on Craigslist. She was summoned to Oak Beach by a John.
According to Mari Gilbert, Shannon felt she needed to earn money to buy her a Mother's Day gift.
My last conversation I had with Shannon was, we were talking about her coming.
And this is sad because this is Shannon Gilbert's mom. She was killed by her own daughter. She had three daughters, and one of her daughters who was living with her is schizophrenic. You know, she had a history, and she stabbed her some 200 plus times, killed her.
Wow.
It's so sad. So this is Shannon Gilbert's mom. She's not alive anymore. A very sad situation. Very, very sad.
Terrible.
To visit for Mother's Day. And I told her, I said, Shannon, don't go out. I said, I don't need any gift from you. Just come and visit. That's my present. And she says, oh, don't worry, Mommy, I'll be okay. I'll be fine. And that was our last conversation.
Former Commissioner Dormer says a canine officer doing a routine exercise in December, also looking for Gilbert at the same time, stumbles upon the first body. And then 2 days later, another 3 bodies.
Our investigation
says a canine officer doing a routine exercise in December, also looking.
So that's a look at it in December. It's not as thick because, Joey, it's obvious it's got, you know, none of the growth is on there. So you could see those thickets are kind of just sticky, you know, and there's thorn bushes in there. It's not great terrain, but it would make it much easier if you were, you know, if you wearing the proper clothing. I would have to assume that Rex Heuermann scouted this area and was well aware. He didn't just go out there and be like, oh shit, you know, this is dangerous. He went prepared, and he got in there with the proper clothing, did what he had to do, and got out of there. So I want to welcome a couple of people coming in and say hello to them. Scott, good to see you. Tweety USA, Tweety US News. Princess Mitch, Magical Mary, I love that screen name. R Whip, thank you for the super chat. Florida Pete is here hanging out. Kitty KU, Erica Olson, Alexandria, thank you for joining. Debbie Carroll, Jazzy Jewel, Iris Hewlett, she's always putting stuff in there. She's always putting her 2 cents in, and I love it. I love hearing everyone's thoughts and opinions. Wowsy Pony, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Love and respect, as always. Tiffany Knox here as well. Let's let the rest of this play.
For Gilbert at the same time, stumbles upon the first body. And then 2 days later, another 3 bodies.
Our investigation indicates that each of the victims had been posting ads on computer websites for various escort and other services prior to their disappearance and death.
After the first 4, they found another. Then 3 more. Then 2 more. None of them were Shannon.
We are doing as thorough a search as we possibly can, a diligent, systematic, and thorough search, and assured that there's nothing else out here. We're doing the best effort we can. Short of going in there and cutting all the brush down, you know, it's a tough area to search.
What activities these victims may have engaged in prior to their murders does not matter. They were young women whose lives were cut tragically short.
So, Joe, there's a good look at without the bike path, some parts of Ocean Parkway. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger. Listen, he didn't have an easy. It wasn't easy for him to do that.
But I'm saying,
because again,
we're not on,
excuse my voice.
Yeah, we're not on the exact areas, Joe.
Right.
This is just file footage. We would have to get right to the exact location. You know, again, this is the news. They're putting up pieces. But this is just a sample of what it's like in the wintertime. You know? So
it's much more difficult in the summertime.
Oh yeah.
Than it is in the winter.
And this is winter because you could tell by the foliage, you know, just looking at it.
to this day, it's been over a year since I've heard from them. They won't talk. They won't update with anything that they're working on in not only Shannon's death, but the other girls' death as well.
I covered a stuff
from them. They won't talk.
I just want to stop it for a second.
Update with anything that they're working on in not only Shannon.
That's my cousin right there, Suffolk County ESU. He's retired. I'm working on getting him to come on the show because he was out there.
Oh,
doing the searches. He's kind of camera shy, but that is that's my cousin.
camera shy is okay.
Yeah, I would love to I'm going to just have a conversation with him about it. I don't think he'll come on, to be honest with you, but Frank's a good guy, and he's a big dude too. He's 6'7". Worked in emergency services in the Suffolk County Police Department for 38 years. So he was out there searching. He was part of the search for additional remains and additional victims. But I just wanted to show that because I did play it one time on my live and made a mention of it. But yeah, part of my family was part of Suffolk County Emergency Services. He didn't do any investigating or any case investigation, but he was part of the search. And I'd love to just get his perspective about how difficult that terrain was.
Well, he could do it without camera, just voice.
I know. I'm going to work on that. All right, Joey, just 2 more minutes and then we'll come back and we'll close it up.
Okay.
Shannon's death, but the other girls' death as well.
Big Frank, there he is.
I covered a Suffolk County murder. That was a very difficult case to solve. And it took them over a year to finally make the arrests and get the convictions. Most of the stuff being behind the scenes, most of the stuff the victim's family had no idea was happening. Speaking from my own experience, in a case such as the Gilgo murders, I would guarantee that on a daily basis, that case is being investigated by the best detectives that they have in that department.
And just let us know. Have they progressed any further? Has it stayed the same or what? But their answer is always, can't tell you nothing, can't tell you nothing. We don't want to hear, we can't tell you nothing anymore.
We don't want somebody who may have done something to Miss Waterman.
This guy's in prison as we speak, by the way, Thomas Spoda.
To know what we're doing or what our thinking is, what investigative clues there are, or what investigative techniques are being employed.
Do you plan to make the Gilgo investigation a priority?
Of course, all murder cases in Suffolk County should be a top priority. When I was in the U.S. Attorney's Office, I specialized in cold case murders. That means...
Here's an idea. Here's a look at this female canine officer stumbling in the thicket when it's the winter. This is obviously the winter time. And do you see how she's fighting, Joe, in there?
Murders that
Yes.
lay dormant.
And Ron, the reason why
means murders
okay.
that lay dormant for more than decades.
Go ahead, Joe.
The reason why they don't just, take it all away is because they need it. They need it because it's a protection barrier from the ocean into the bay, from storm surge. That's what they need, that thicket like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's struggling there. And like you said, it's part of preserving the natural environment and the waterways, right?
Yeah.
So it's a part of biology. Ed Wallace.
Ecosystem.
Yeah, the ecosystem. Ed Wallace would give us some good insight on that. Let the rest of this play, Joe, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
Means murders that lay dormant for more than decades. I think
Remember
it's very
those houses,
important,
Joe? We
whenever
saw
you have
them?
loss of life.
Oh yeah, gorgeous homes.
To make sure that you diligently work to solve those cases. The only objective is not to get a dangerous person off the street. That's
It's a
obviously
state
the
police
primary
helicopter.
objective. But it's also to bring justice to the family.
The area where the women's bodies were found has a lot of thickets and bramble. It's very hard to get in there as just walking to it and say, oh, I'm going to go in. You can't do that. It's very difficult to navigate.
It's such an optimal location to get rid of a body. The thickets are just so rich.
A little more than a year after the first body was found, Shannon Gilbert's remains were positively identified. Suffolk County Police do not consider Shannon's death part of the Gilgo murder investigation?
Because they were all found together and I consider it a big family now, that I'm not going to exclude one person because Shannon was found in that radius. That's why I include Shannon also.
Whether it was the same killer or whatever, it's because of her my sister was found, and she will always be a part of this no matter what happened.
Shannon had a destiny, and God used her as a vessel to sacrifice her life so that others can be found.
Former Commissioner Richard Dormer gave us a theory that he believed that these killings were the work of one serial killer. That caused a huge firestorm.
Yeah, there was a fight between this police commissioner, Richard Dormer, and the district attorney, Tom Spoda. They publicly disagreed with each other. And that was, you don't ever want to see that, where you have a police commissioner saying one theory and then a district attorney saying that's hogwash. When you have that, you have that, the case is doomed. And the case was doomed, not just because of that. That just added to the whole mix of stumbles.
The issue of one killer, two killers, three killers for the 10 remains that have been found has been discussed. And I've been asked about the theory that it's one serial killer. The facts of the case indicate one person.
When he says that the theory
This is the district attorney.
is that there is only one killer. I very, very much disagree with that theory.
By using that word, especially by a public official, it sounds the alarms and can put the public into panic. The definition of a serial killer is one person that kills at least 4 people. From a strictly speculative standpoint, and this is solely my opinion, from my own experience, my guess would be that all of the bodies that were found on Gilgo were the work of one killer. I've interviewed or corresponded with probably at least 10 serial killers.
This is a retired NYPD detective, and that was in 2015. And we don't know for sure that he's right, but it's a pretty damn good theory in my eyes from an investigatory standpoint. This is a great look at Ocean Parkway before the bike path was put into place. Where we were standing, Joe, and walking was right here.
Oh, wow. Yes.
This whole thing. The road hasn't changed. It's still that concrete. You remember you drove in on it and back out on it, right? It's the same concrete. This stuff lasts forever. This isn't asphalt. This is poured concrete roadway. So this NYPD detective in 2015 made a lot of sense there.
My guess would be that the Gilgo killer is familiar with Long Island. He probably lives on Long Island or has lived on Long Island. And probably blends very normally into society.
This was 2015, ladies and gentlemen. I got to put that back because this guy's badass.
My guess would be that all of the bodies that were found on Gilgo were the work of one killer. I've interviewed or corresponded with probably at least 10 serial.
I agree.
My guess would be that the Gilgo killer is familiar with Long Island. He probably lives on Long Island or has lived on Long Island and probably blends very normally into society. You can't be paranoid about who your neighbor is. I think people should be aware that he very easily could walk among us and be considered, a nice person. I think the likelihood of this person getting caught is very high. There's also the possibility that he might be in jail for something else, maybe something completely unrelated to murder.
Let me just say this, because I see some comments in the chat, and I don't like to do this, but I'm going to do it. He had no knowledge of the case file. He knew nothing of investigators' investigatory notes. This is solely on the experience of an experienced NYPD retired detective. Just like Ed, just like me, just like Sergeant Bill, just like Detective Phil, just like Lieutenant Pete. We know stuff. And he had nothing to back this up. And he says it. This is purely speculative. Right, Joe?
It's called experience, it's called.
It's from working these cases. He said he's had 10 serial killers in his time.
Experience.
Yeah. This guy's a badass.
Yep.
And it's amazing that that was in 2015.
It sounds the alarms and can put the public into panic. The definition of a serial killer is one person that kills at least 4 people. From a strictly speculative standpoint, and this is solely my opinion, from my own experience, my guess would be that all of the bodies that were found on Gilgo were the work of one killer. I've interviewed or corresponded with probably at least 10 serial killers. My guess would be that the Gilgo killer is familiar with Long Island. He probably lives on Long Island or has lived on Long Island and probably blends very normally into society. You can't be paranoid about who your neighbor is. I think people should be aware that he very easily could walk among us and be considered, a nice person. I think the likelihood of this person getting caught is very high. There's also the possibility that he might be in jail for something else, maybe something completely unrelated to murder. He could be caught 15 years from now when he's arrested for something else and his DNA pops up in the database.
She was a loving mom. Megan was a loving daughter. She was an aunt, a niece. She just had to go. She would do anything. She'd give the last penny in her pocket to somebody if they wanted it.
Shannon was very, very smart. She was very intelligent. She loved to cook. She was a really, really good cook. She loved to hang out with her sisters.
Not a day that goes by that I don't think about this. It's a nonstop thing.
Until you see it, until you see a family member have that closure and speak to you about it, it's almost hard to, it's hard to explain. It changes their lives. When every day they have someone who they know was taken away from them by another human being, and that person is out and about, or it hasn't been brought to justice.
These are the victims here,
any capacity.
families.
That's just crushing.
Just pick up the
Heartbreak.
phone. It doesn't have to be every week. At least once a month, it would take you 2 seconds. Say, hey, listen, there's nothing new going on in the case. I just want you to know that we are still working on it. Will that make me feel better? Yes, knowing that they're still doing it. And it's not just sitting off somewhere in a dark corner.
I can guarantee that if this Gilgo Beach killer is never caught, nobody is ever held responsible for those killings, that a lot of those detectives that worked on that case pretty regularly are going to be thinking about that case for the rest of their lives. Having done this many times, I can tell you there is nothing more satisfying than telling a family that you are bringing to justice the person that killed their son and daughter.
Amen.
What a great interview. I'm so glad I played that. I'm going to reach out to him and try to get him on the show. I'm going to do that immediately as soon as I'm done here. Joey, I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you to you for coming out and volunteering on a Saturday to come out and get eaten alive with me down in Gilgo. But to be the cameraman, be my friend, to be the main mod here on Crime Time with DutyRon, I'm going to summon everyone to go over to Joey Brooklyn's channel and subscribe. He does a lot of sunsets and fishing and a lot of nature stuff. Joey will give you some therapeutic, beautiful scenes all across New York. He's a born and raised, well, not born in Brooklyn, but born in Manhattan, raised in Brooklyn. He's a
native New Yorker, Ron.
Native New Yorker, now living in Long Island. Joey Brooklyn's channel is going to be linked down in the description. I'm hoping that everybody that's here gives him a shot and goes over and subscribe, because when I ask him to do something with me or to help out, he's right there. He's taking me to surgeries. This guy's a great guy. So
yeah, but listen, I do it because we developed such a friendship, and you're more like family to me, Ron. And I'm not ashamed to say that publicly, because you are humanitarian. You are a genuine, real person. And you want to know, and I'm not just saying it because of the channel. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
God brings two good people together to work as a team sometimes, to be a force.
Amen to that.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you,
And
Joey.
I'm really, and I'll just say this. I want to just get back to the case 1 second, Ron. Chief Rodney Harris, who's Commissioner Rodney Harris, I had the pleasure to sit down and have dinner with him at a retirement party for Monsignor David Casado. And I didn't know who he was, but he's such a genuine person, a real person. He actually came to me and he said this. He says, "Oh, you're a Long Islander now?" I says, "Yeah. No, I'm a Brooklyn guy." But he goes, "Anytime there's a problem here, on your block or anywhere you see something and you want advice or you need my help, just give me a call." I says, "I would never call you." He turned around to Kathy, my wife, and says, "No, tell him to call me anytime." So we're going to try to get him on board once this is all finished and done, because I think to get his perspective as a professional, somebody who came upon this, and I got to tell you the truth, if it wasn't for him, I don't know if they would have found these bodies, to tell you the truth. Because with his experience, NYPD experience, detective experience, I believe that, he made a difference here.
Yeah.
He's a class act.
Amen to that, Joe. I appreciate that. And Rodney Harrison, again, former chief of the detectives in NYPD, former chief of the department, just a great amount of experience, but he knew what it would take to have a chance to solve this case. And you heard him in 2022 in August. He said, "I think this case is solvable." I think a lot of people probably just went, "We heard that before."
Right.
But he did it. So I want to just say again, thank you to everyone who watches the replay, who subscribes to Crime Time with DutyRon and Joey Brooklyn's channel. Curious Kiwi, thank you for the super chat. She says, "Good people find good people." Thank you for all you do. Thank you, Curious Kiwi. But so that's the thing. I'm hoping everyone considers subscribing here, subscribing to Joey Brooklyn, but also following me on all things social media. One word, DutyRon. It's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. We do upload our true crime episodes, little snippets of the episodes on TikTok. So check us out there.
You forgot Threads.
Yeah, absolutely.
Threads too.
All kinds of stuff. So thank you to everyone who's watched, who's moderated, who's replays, leaving comments down below in the comment section. That helps tremendously. I'm having surgery on my hand on Thursday, so I'm going to be down and out after Thursday for a couple of days, maybe the weekend. I'll take off, come back next Monday. This hand is going to be wrapped up. I'm having surgery on my thumb right here. So it's ambulatory. I should be in and out. I appreciate everyone's support, and thank you to all who have positively engaged. I want to just send strength, prayers, and positive vibes to the victims' families who are left behind. Those mothers that we saw here, they need our they need our support and our strength. Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Amber Costello, and Shannon Gilbert, and the rest of the unidentified and the identified, sending their family love, respect, and all good things. So, guys and girls, I want to end this by saying thank you, and we will see you on the next one. Joey, I appreciate you being here, brother.
Thank you, everybody. God bless each and every one of you. Good night from New York City. Ciao for now.
Stand by for a message from the cop team. Right, Joe? The
Right.
cop team?
Yep.
I'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.